In 1866, Hazeldale was platted. It's in the southeast corner of the county, and the name came around a little odd because, for one thing, there was only one Hazeldale in the whole United States. But this man named Cook had written a ballad about Hazeldale. Everyone was singing about Hazeldale. So when it came time we need a name for our little community, the mayor's daughters said, Hazeldale. And so it was Hazeldale. And Hazeldale at one time had everything you needed. It was a bustling burg. The saying was, you can be born, live, and die in Hazeldale and have everything you need. The first church was in 1864. And today there's a church. You drive into Hazeldale, there's a cemetery on each side of the road and a church on each side of the road. In 1877, they built their first brick schoolhouse. And at Hazeldale, with being where it was located and things, when consolidation started in 1948, 10 schools in that area consolidated to Hazeldale. So they had a graded school. They had a train car called the Doty that would take the students, the high school students, from Hazeldale and beyond up to Casey to high school each day and bring them back home. But Hazeldale had quite a bit going on for a while. In the 1920s, in Hazeldale, they decided they wanted a soldiers' monument. And so they got together, got the money together, and put it in the driveway to the Church of God Cemetery on the south side of the Hazeldale Blacktop. And it's still there today. In 1940, Irene Hollinsby had the first beauty shop in Hazeldale. And she had one of these great big monstrosity electronic perm machines in her shop. And a perm was $2.50. The shampoo and set was 50 cents in 1940. And I was told the machine is now in a museum. Don't know which one, but it is in a museum. Hazeldale was, as I said, a bustling town. And we have the map. It shows it had several blocks, 2 churches, big school. But in 1925 and 1937, there were fires. And these fires wiped out whole blocks, whole sides of the street. There are still people living there and still things going on.
My grandparents, Orrin Rice and Clara Lettner, were married in 1913. The farm that they purchased was purchased in 1919. And Grandpa, like I said, Grandpa was a farmer. He had 50 acres of land that he purchased, and he purchased it from Markwell and Ratcliffe. The location of the 50 acres is a half mile south of the Cottonwood United Methodist Church. And this church sits on the corner of the road that runs from 121 up to Lincoln Log Cabin. And also, the road that runs east and west is known as the Bradbury Road. The 50 acres that Grandpa purchased was all farm ground except for the house and the barn and everything. Another of the stories that he told was about the fact that they raised sorghum. Sorghum is a plant that has seeds at the top that you can use for livestock feed, but it also has the pole that it grows on, kind of like a sugar cane. They cut all the strip everything off of it, and they send it to a mill. And there was a mill somewhere around Toledo, I think, that Grandpa took sorghum to, and he would squeeze the juice out of the sorghum. And then Grandpa got half of it, and I think Grandpa probably sold a good share of what he raised. Grandpa was a farmer, but he farmed with horses. And I have a picture of my dad and his two brothers with the horses from the farm. The two big work horses, and each one of them had a colt. And one of them, I think he sold one, but the real pretty one he kept, and they called her Queenie. And we have a picture of Grandpa sitting on that horse. I don't think he'd like to do that, but somebody talked him into a picture. After the war in 1950, my grandfather bought 40 acres of property 1 mile south of the Cottonwood Church. We called it the Tippett place because he bought the place from Luke Tippett. It stayed in the family for income for Grandma until the mid-'80s, and then it was sold. The farm today looks nothing like it did, and even what I can remember. I even remember houses on both the 50 acres and on the 40. But it's all torn down, and it's flat farm ground, and it's good farm ground. It's very productive farm ground.
The Cumberland County Veterans Memorial started approximately 12 years ago, and starting in 2017, the person who had started, which is Carrie Verdine, had come to the auxiliary, the Toledo American Legion Auxiliary, and asked if we'd help revive it and get it going again. So from there, we have taken over and raised more money to get it going. The basic amount of the project is anywhere from $90,000 to $100,000. We will have, of course, benches for you to sit and reflect, look at the names. Each point of the star, because there will be a star on the concrete, we'll have a flagpole for each branch. And then off to the side, of course, we'll have the American flag, the state flag, and the POW flag, along with the donor stone. To be on the wall, you have to be from Cumberland County, which means you can be born, lived, or passed away in Cumberland County. Right now, we have approximately 500 names that have been submitted. We have 62 names from World War I to current that has been killed in action, which will go on the center stone that's there. And also, if we include Civil War from Cumberland County, we will have 88 names on there. And then the rest of the names that haven't been killed in action will be listed as we get them. So there are numerous names that's going to go on this. And there's going to be room for plenty after. We're looking at these stones will hold up to 8,000 names. So even after I'm gone, the names can still be added. I'm ready to break ground anytime, but of course we have to get the funds together, which we continue doing things. We just did a color run during Toledo Freedom Days. We've done Glow Bingo. We continue to sell shirts and Huggies and magnets. We do bake sales during the Spring Fest, in which we pull up the shirts. There's other times we pull up the shirts. So we're constantly trying to reach our goal of building this memorial. I think it will mean lots of things. For people to see their grandma or grandpa or the little 5-year-old when they turn 21 and they're thinking about service, to go realize, hey, my mom and dad's on there, or my grandma and grandpa's on there, or my brother's on there. I think for years to come, the pride will be there.
Churches have always been more than just places to worship. In many of the communities, they are the activity centers, and they serve an important function for the spiritual side of things in a local community, and then from the community side as well. We think we're kind of unique perhaps here in Neoga because we have 9 churches active in Neoga, with one of those being just a few miles outside of town. Another thing that's happened in Neoga is that several of those churches over the last several years have built some new buildings and moved into them. In each of those cases, they brought some things out of the old church, some of the altar furniture and paintings perhaps, and some things to kind of tie the past with the present and prepare for the future. One of the churches, the Presbyterian church here in Neoga, which actually has, I think, the biggest of the stained glass windows in Neoga, has recently done a restoration project on their stained glass window to preserve it. Here at Grace United Methodist Church, when we were contemplating building this new building, we knew that we had to make room for these stained glass windows. We have 3 of them that were in the old church. And in fact, this building, the design was dictated by these stained glass windows. We had to build a building that would encompass these windows, and they're something like 12 to 14 feet tall, and so that explains the high vaulted ceiling in the sanctuary and in the gathering area and here in the fellowship hall where each of these windows is located. A scary thing happened when we were moving these windows, and that was when we got them here in the new church. We wanted them protected by a storm window or a clear plexiglass, and that was a project we were doing ourselves. We had the one that's in the east wall covered, and we had one of the 2 windows in the west wall covered, but we hadn't finished the 3rd one yet. And I was in southern Illinois driving back to Neoga, and I kept hearing these weather alerts for severe thunderstorm warnings in Shelby County, which is just to our west, and here in Cumberland County. And the closer I got to Neoga, those thunderstorm warnings turned into tornado warnings. And so I had this vision that I was going to get back here and find that this uncovered window was in shatters. But when I got back to town, this was the first place I came, and I found that the window was still intact. But what was interesting was that storm, which I think they actually declared that it was a tornado, did some severe damage on the east side, or excuse me, on the west side of town, damaged some homes there. It spared the rest of Neoga, including all of the churches and our stained glass window, but then it touched down again on the east side of town and did considerable damage to some farm buildings out there. And so, you know, people might say that's just the luck of the draw or just nature at work. We tend to think it was the hand of God protecting all of His churches, and we think maybe He was protecting that stained glass window that we hadn't been smart enough to cover up yet.
My name is Peggy Short-Stuntz. I'm the great-great-granddaughter of Mahlon Votaw. Mahlon Votaw was born in 1826 in Ohio to Quaker parents. He was a millwright, and a millwright builds sawmills and grain mills. He traveled around a lot with this job from Ohio to Iowa to Greenup, Cumberland County, Illinois. And there he built a sawmill for Edward Talbot. He stayed in Greenup, and there he married Josephine Baker, who died several years later, and then he married Delilah Reese, who was the stepdaughter of Edward Talbot, the one he built the mill for in Greenup. In 1854, he and a friend, Philip Welshmer, built a sawmill near Greenup. In 1855, the railroad established the Neoga station and built a depot there. So the Civil War was just about to begin. And then it was in 1862 that Mahlon enlisted in Company B of the 123rd Illinois Regiment. The captain of Company B was Edward Talbot, his wife's father-in-law, or stepfather, I should say. The 123rd Illinois Regiment was famous for being part of the Wilder's Brigade. They were also called the Lightning Brigade, and they earned this nickname by rushing through a mountain gap and holding the gap at long odds. He returned home to Greenup in 1865. A short time later, he took his family to Neoga, and there he started a business, furniture and undertaking. This was a usual combination at that time because He was a carpenter and could both make furniture and coffins for burials. From Mahlon, the store passed to his son Lyman T. Votaw, and then to Lyman's son-in-law, W.L. Short, and was called the Short Furniture Store. And then after that, it went to W.L.'s sons, Bill Short and Jim Short. And then a later generation was my father, Bill Short's son, my brother, Bill Short. Now the Neoga store closed in 2008, but my brother Bill still has the Short Furniture Store in Litchfield, Illinois. I know that Mahlon was first elected president of Neoga when they were first incorporated, but he resigned to be the police magistrate. Mahlon, he died in 1919, and he had been married 3 times and had 12 children. I feel like he was a leader of the community. I was always impressed that he would write these articles, editorials, and send them to various newspapers. I always felt like he must have had a big ego, and maybe that's okay to accomplish things, I'm not sure. But someone who writes their own autobiography, they have to have some confidence that they have accomplished things.
We produced apples. Largest producer in apples, actually, in central Illinois, in Illinois. Hay producers, the largest. I can touch them all. We had hay. We had 5 of the biggest barns right here in Neoga, Illinois there ever was. There's still a lot of the people right here in the area that was into it. The mills, they ground the flour, the wheat, flour, and meal. One of the mills that was here first off was built back in 1859, 8 days before the Civil War started. The owner of that took a gamble, stayed in business 20 years because they produced so much. Grist mills that produced so much wheat around here, it was unbelievable. With the railroad tracks that come through here, they could ship hay, they could ship flour. It was just unbelievable, the shipping, that we weigh our own hay, weigh our own wheat, weigh our own flour and ship it out. We had the brick factory that also produced tile, field tile, as the Neoga was growing. Orchards, unbelievable. 3 times we sent apples to the World's Fair from Neoga here, back in 86, 87, and 89. That's 18, 86, 87, and 89. The best we ever got was 2nd place in the 30s back then, you know, and they was making 50,000 bushels of apple come out of here. That was making money and putting it in somebody's pocket, and they was putting it back in the community here. In the 1900s, we had a lot of smaller industries coming out. Like I said, we had the Kearns coming out with their large girdle factory. The Girdles, Braziers, a large employer of people here, and they're still in business, but there was like 3 other smaller factories that produced undergarments also that come in. The livery stables where they serviced horses, stocked horses, was unbelievable. They housed horses, they could house cattle if they brought cattle in to put on the train. There used to be a cheese factory and a milk dispensary out there where we used to make cheese and store milk. Down the street, straight down past the city building there, we had what was always called a cold storage. And the reason it was called a cold storage is they manufactured 35 tons of ice a day. You could come to town and you could get everything you needed right here. If you couldn't, you could get on a train and go and get it real quick. I mean, you know, you was in Chicago in a short time, you was in Effingham in a short time, or Champaign in a short time. This is what we are today, and it's a nice little community, it really is.
Yes, and we're back. We are are partying still. Oh my
Yes,
God, I
we
tell you,
are.
these people from Cumberland County got some energy.
Now they know how to have fun, don't they?
Yeah, I'm so glad I'm having a good time. Are you having a good time? Because if you are, call us and let us know.
And what about that David Cameron? Oh my goodness. Does he look like Santa Claus or what?
A little bit.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
He is just the funnest thing. And you know, we was able to hide his little old microphone under his beard. Never did get no feedback, no nothing. I mean, that Santa Claus man is phenomenal.
You are funny. He knows a lot of history,
and
doesn't
everything
he?
is great. Everything's wonderful and everything's big.
Yeah, and
in
you know
Cumberland
what?
County.
A lot of the story, the pictures that was in his story are hanging in City Hall in Neoga.
Isn't that so
Yeah,
great?
it was
Oh,
so
my
cool to be able to
goodness.
see all that history in there, and a lot of the Mahlon Votaw history is over there, and the short furniture family history is over there as well. So lots of history to be seen in
Absolutely.
Neoga at City Hall.
Yes, there is. There is so much beauty in Cumberland County.
Hey, we want to give some shout outs tonight, but we want to give shout outs to you. So if we haven't said your name tonight, give us a call. The operators are standing by right now.
And by the way, we have already sold 58 DVDs.
Yes, 58 DVDs. That's awesome.
Isn't that fabulous?
It is
I love
awesome.
it.
So let's give some shout outs and say thank you to these folks.
So Jean from Toledo, Stanley from Neoga, Warren from Effingham,
I've got Jill from Lerna. I have Nancy from Toledo, Evelyn from Toledo, Debbie from Mattoon, and Gary from Neoga, who wants to give a shout out to his mom, I believe, Evelyn
Yes.
Starwalt.
and then here's the sweetest thing. Betty called my husband, and she said, I've lived in Greenup for the past 17 years, and it will be the last place that I will ever live because it's the best place I've ever lived. I've made a lot of great friends here. So, Betty, we
that's
love
awesome.
you. We're so glad that you love Greenup. We love Cumberland County.
I tell you, I don't know what's going on back here, but
I know,
something's
they're so
going on with the
rowdy.
phone. Back here, Marlene Van Meter's on the phone. She's cracking people up. So I don't know. I'm looking forward to
They're
hearing
selling
who's on the phone.
DVDs.
Yeah. So I don't know who's on there with her, but we're going to hear from them soon. So we've got 2 phone operators busy right now. We've got 4 available. We want you to give them a call. That's Jeannie Cruz right there. You know what? Jeannie Cruz is related, or was related, to my 2nd grade teacher
Oh, my-
in
you
Casey. I grew
told
up in
me
Casey,
that.
just a short distance from Cumberland County, and she was my very favorite teacher.
Isn't
I loved
that so
y'all,
great?
but she was my very favorite teacher in 2nd grade, Juanita Katie.
I love that.
Loved her.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That's so sweet.
Yeah, so I got some more history to share. I'm going to talk to Linda here in just a second.
yes.
I found out she knows somebody I worked with in high school too.
Oh,
she knows
my
him real well.
goodness. Wow.
Yeah, so I'm going to go on over
See,
here and
Linda
talk
knows
to her for just
everything
a
and
minute.
everybody.
Yeah, so Linda, I'm so glad you're here with us tonight. I'm going to move this microphone a little bit closer. So Linda is with the Historical Museum.
Cumberland County Historical Museum.
Yeah, and that's where we checked folks in to tell stories down in the Greenup area, and then we went across the street and we recorded them at the Military Museum, which is a story coming up with Jeannie Cruz. But the Historical Museum, boy, it's got lots of stuff in there.
We like to save our history because the kids and everybody they should know and like to know our history.
So if people want to find out how to find you or what your open hours are, do you have a Facebook page
We
for more
are
information?
Facebook, Cumberland County Historical Society, and we also have a web page, Cumberland County History, and our hours, numbers, everything's right there.
Right there. And you've got the train depot with
The train depot.
Yeah, it's
Yep.
in there too. So for all those people out there who love trains and railroads, and a lot of these towns are here because of the railroads, you can go down there and you can learn all about them. So here's the thing. I want to give a shout out and a hello to your son, because her son, John, hi John, I used to work with you at the IGA in Casey, and I didn't find out that you were her son until tonight. So how cool is that? Everything
neat.
comes full circle, doesn't it?
Right.
So that's so cool. I'm so glad you're here with us tonight, Linda, and I'm going to give it back to you, Wanda Kay.
Oh my goodness. This is so fun. And you know what? One of the stories that you just saw was Jim Whitaker and telling about the Neoga churches. I think there are 9 churches in Neoga. Now that is a church on every corner just about. So you know what? I loved his story about the beautiful stained glass windows, and that was one of the places where we actually went and filmed our stories, was there in the beautiful church there in Neoga. And oh my goodness, those windows were just beautiful to behold.
Yep.
As we would sit in that church and the sun would shine through the windows, it was just absolutely amazing.
Lots of churches in Neoga. When you
9
walk,
churches.
when you drive through, there's a sign right there that
Yes.
illustrates all of them.
Absolutely,
So,
yes.
also I wanted to talk about Tanya Craig's Veterans
Oh,
Memorial.
yes.
What a cool story that was, to be able
Yes,
to
it
honor the
was.
veterans in Cumberland County. And they're doing so with the Military Museum, and there's lots of veterans. I think there's one here with us tonight. I think he's Marlene Van Meter and her family,
Yes.
and the story that we heard at the
Oh,
beginning of the
yes.
show. So lots and lots of
Tanya
history.
has such a passion. She means to get this done.
Yeah.
Because she wants to honor the veterans. And I think that is just worth, supporting her in that, and just, encouraging her to continue on, because what a great thing to honor our veterans.
Absolutely, and we want you to continue helping support WEIU by calling in tonight and getting a copy of the DVD. One copy is $75, 2 or more are $60 each, and you can call the number at the bottom of your screen, or you can go online at weiu.net. We are streaming tonight, so folks outside the area, we're hoping that you're watching and enjoying the show tonight. We're streaming on Facebook too. We had a little glitch earlier, but we're back on. We've been on for a while. So if
We
you're
sure
watching, be
are.
sure to share with your friends and family outside the area that they can tune in and watch these stories, and then they can share them on Facebook, and make sure that other people will call and give us a call to get a DVD as well.
Yes, please pick up the phone right now. Don't hesitate. We want to have another phone blitz. That's what we want.
That would be
Man,
so
this
cool.
place came alive when we had
Yes,
a
it
phone
does.
blitz.
You know, people, when you call in, you give us energy. We've always
do.
talked about this, the
Yes.
energy that is in this studio tonight, the energy coming from the
yes.
storytellers, the energy coming from the phones. It all
Yes.
comes right here, and we want to thank you, and we want to thank all the people that are here tonight, because they're working so hard
They
for
are.
Cumberland County.
They really are. Yes.
I'll tell you someone else who works hard is Peggy Short Stunts over there.
Yes,
She's
she
with her
does.
mother. Helen Short is still here, and
I
Peggy,
know.
she is a historian now. I got to tell you,
Wow.
that Mahlon Votaw story and the
Yes.
pictures and all the history that was behind there. When I was in City Hall in Neoga, there are books like this thick
Oh, my
on Mahlon Votaw, and it's all because of her, because
That's
she's the historian. And there's people like this in Cumberland County that really respect local history, and that's what we're doing tonight. And we are your public broadcasting station, bringing it to you because of your support and you calling in tonight and allowing us to continue to do this.
That's right. So please support WEIU so that we can continue telling these wonderful stories. Oh my goodness. And that sweet 105-year-old Helen Short, can you believe she is still in the house? She's still moving and grooving. I'm telling you, what a delight. She is such a joy. And that quick sense of humor, and she is just amazing, ain't she?
Yeah,
She
absolutely.
really is.
You know what? Something just came to mind because I think I'm getting a little hungry. I'm looking at all this food over here. I didn't mention somebody. The studio also gave cookies
yes,
over there.
they
So whoever gave the
did.
cookies outside the studio, they were great. But I'll
Well,
tell you what, all those cookies, all
It
that
looks
food,
like
we
somebody's
appreciate all
chowed
that.
down on those
That's
cookies.
okay.
I
That's all
love
right.
it. This
Hey,
is great.
Let me tell you some stories that are coming up in the next break. We're going to hear about the Cumberland County Fair, the Toledo Democrat, Johnstown, which John Barger told.
yes.
Did you tell that because your name's John? Always wanted to know that. No? All right, just wondered. We're going to hear about George Lewis Jr. and Burnham Neal. So those are some
yes.
wonderful stories
They
coming our way.
really, really are. Just amazing stories. And that Billy Chambers, she is something else. She has got a quick sense of humor, doesn't she?
She
really
does, and that's
she's
one
busy.
of the news. Yes, that's
She's
one of the
so busy.
newspapers down in Cumberland County, but they cover the entire county, and that's what you're going to hear about.
Yes.
So right now, we want you to give us a call. We've got 3 people on the phone, 3 people who can take your call. And we want to be able to say thank you to whoever it is that calls in. So this is your opportunity right now. Do we have what is Marlene? Marlene, did you have a funny story that we needed to share?
Marlene is so cute.
told my brother, Daniel Joseph Flood, to make sure at every elevator that he goes to, every farmer he sees, that they can order a DVD online.
There you go. Yes. That's what we like.
Oh my!
All
what
farmers.
a cheerleader!
And there's a
I
bunch
love
of them
it.
in Cumberland County.
I'm telling you what, and these storytellers are such cheerleaders, really.
Yes.
They believe in WEIU because their story is being told.
Yeah.
And their beautiful history is being shared with the world tonight.
You know, when we were doing these stories with the storytellers, the things that seemed to kind of intertwine throughout all the stories was agriculture,
Yes.
military, family, music. I mean, there's lots of different things, and just the uniqueness of the area.
Oh, yes.
I mean, here's something unique. The entire county doesn't have one stoplight. Not one.
Isn't that amazing?
There's only one city in the entire county, Neoga. The rest are villages and townships. And that is the uniqueness that we can bring to you tonight. And you will
Exactly.
want to have a copy of this DVD to archive that, because you can share this history.
Exactly.
This is something that you don't come across just
Right.
anywhere in the United States.
History
and it's right
that
here.
will go on forever.
Yes,
I
right
love
here.
this. And,
And it's because-
WEIU
Yes.
is the reason.
That's
I love
right.
that.
But we're here because you support us. And we couldn't do it
Yes.
without the support with the people
That's
in
right.
here and the people sitting at home watching too. So give us
That's
a call right now. The number's at the bottom of your screen. We just want you to pick it up, and we want to hear from you.
Pick it up and call us.
Yes, so we can give you a shout out. So we're going to get back to the show here in a minute. Like I said, the fair, the newspaper, a town that used to be, some people still live there, but the town really isn't there anymore. George Lewis Jr., more military, and Burnham Neal. You won't want to miss these. So we're going back to the show. We'll see you soon.